for talking to us. We have been talking to Honorable Rashid Popo, and we also have joining us the former UN Assistant at the Office of the President, SDGs Advisory Unit, joining us, Mr. Eugene. Also, you're welcome to Ghana Television. Do tell us, we know that a lot has been said about this man, Kofi Annan, and his work, but you have been working on the SDGs. At this moment, how do you feel?
Well, I had the privilege of working with the late Kofi Annan in the UN for many years. And he was an inspiration for those of us from Ghana and the UN more broadly. But I'll tell you three things about him. One is, as Secretary General during the time I worked for the UN, our Secretary General was a very shrewd negotiator, and you know in global politics, you need those skills. As an astute diplomat and an intelligent strategist. And what I loved about him the most was his humility in service and his commitment to global peace and security, as well as global development.
Thank you very much for joining us. We have been talking to the SDGs representative who has described Mr. Kofi Annan as an astute politician and also a shrewd negotiator. We are coming to you live from the Accra International Conference Center, where we have performances from the Ghana Dance Ensemble here, showcasing and displaying Ghana's rich culture. We have the Asante Cultural Troupe, Asante Kete Cultural Troupe, and we also have several groups here displaying Ghana's culture. But here at the Accra International Conference Center, dignitaries are expected to file past the remains of the late Kofi Annan right from this morning all the way up until 4 p.m. This evening. And of course, this was a man who many described that had a calm demeanor, had a calm sense of negotiating, a man who believed in diplomacy, a man who also believed that diplomacy needed to be backed by power. And of course, our coverage here continues. Abdul Hai Moment continues with the commentary.
Chapalu, my colleague there, speaking to some of the dignitaries who have already come here to pay their last respects to His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General. He earlier spoke to MPs, including Mr. Yeleture, who at one point in time was Ghana's Minister in charge of local government and rural development, also MP for Wat Central. She spoke to Honorable Setepe, who has also been here already to pay his last respects to the former UN Secretary General. She spoke to a former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs who doubled as Executive Director for the West Africa Network for Peace Building, WANEP, Mr. Emmanuel Bonamande, as well as Mr. Moses Saga, all of them paying glowing tribute to Mr. Kofi Annan, who we will eventually say a final farewell to tomorrow when the state burial takes place. Today, opportunity is being given to high-profile personalities, VVIPs, to pay their last respects to Mr. Kofi Annan, because we know that Mr. Kofi Annan served 2 terms as Secretary General of the UN, and when since we've had this funeral, speaking to most of the people he worked closely with, one message cast across that even though he was Secretary General, that most of the time he played the role of a secretary than that of a general, and that speaks volumes of the character of the man we mourn today, of the man we celebrate today, Mr. Kofi Annan. A lot more of the dignitaries standing by. who have been here, and Selikem has stood some of them by for more interviews. Selikem, I've seen a lot more dignitaries come in. Who else is ready to share their views with us here about Mr. Kofi Annan?
Right, we are still live from the Accra International Conference Center. This is Ghana Television, and we continue to see many foreign representatives also eulogizing the man Kofi Annan. There's a representation here from Poland. And sir, I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Michał Cygan. I'm Deputy Director for Africa in the Polish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I came as a part of the delegation headed by Deputy Minister Piotr Wawrzyk, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, to pay homage to late Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, a great son of the Ghanaian nation, great African leader, who has also co-founded Community of Democracies with the Polish Foreign Minister, the community of more than 100 countries, democratic countries, of which both Ghana and Poland are proud members and leaders. So this is our duty and obligation to be here, to pay respect to one of the greatest political leaders of our times.
On a personal level, how would you like to remember him?
I was deeply touched by the news of the passing of Mr. Kofi Annan. I was personally as a student, I was a voluntary during the summit in Warsaw when the Community of Democracies was founded. So I cherish this memory of Mr. Annan as the Secretary of the United Nations, being there in Poland with many world leaders of heads of states, heads of governments, and it was one of my motivations to join the foreign ministry to be part of such processes. So it's a very touching moment for me to be here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babja. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Right. So we have been talking to Mr. Babja, who from the Poland, a team from Poland, who celebrating the man Kofi Annan.
Several dignitaries having gathered here for the funeral of one of their own who was a dignitary himself. Many of them here I've seen. These are old students of Franciscan. We know that Mr. Kofi Annan prided himself as a mobile. These are all students of Fansipim, and they have gathered here to pay last respects to the man that many of them shared the same school campus with when they were in secondary school in those days, in the 50s, and perhaps also in the 40s. Many of them having shared similar facilities in their young age, the same dining room, the same dormitory, the same classrooms. Of course, we see a younger generation of the Mfansipim Old Boys Association there a while ago. Of course, they take a lot of pride in telling the world that the man who Ghana gave to the world is someone who emanated and got his training from the same school that they are currently also receiving their training. But many of those who you currently see on your screens are past students of Mfansipim, where Mr. Kofi Annan attended during his secondary school days. That's the anthem of Mfansipim. Past students of Mfansipim School where Mr. Kofi Annan attended, and when you speak to some of these men who have gathered here this morning about the days they spent with Mr. Kofi Annan in school, and for those many of them who came to the same school even after him, the stories they heard about him, some of them really very interesting stories. There's this one that talks about how the soft-spoken and reserved to fault Mr. Kofi Annan's personality. Behind that was a hidden and an interesting detail of his student days at Mfansipim School in the Central Region, where there was this one day at Mfansipim when, according to some of his schoolmates, he actually led a student demonstration over food. And his senior at the school, Dr. Andrew Akrutu, revealed that former UN Secretary General, who is dubbed that an afternoon with Kofi Annan. I mean, the hunger strike was what he encouraged people to go on in protest for the quality of meals in the school at the time. So this senior of his, Dr. Andrew Akrutu, revealed that the rebellious streak in an otherwise quiet-spoken Kofi Annan was tamed by his teachers, who encouraged him to shun radical solutions to problems. He was told that undramatic tools of civilized engagement can yield better results. So from 1954 to 1957, Mr. Annan attended the Mfansipim School, which taught him that suffering anywhere concerns people everywhere. Suffering anywhere in the world concerns people everywhere in the world. That some 40 years later, Mr. Kofi Annan would become the first staff member of the United Nations to become the Secretary General in 1996. Dr. Krutu revealing a lot of the things that Mr. Annan did when he was in school in those days. This is the man we're celebrating today. This is the man we are mourning today. And this is the man who many of the people, the current generation who recently just graduated from the Mfansipim School, have also come here to pay their last respects to. They take a lot of pride in the fact that this school of theirs was able to produce that illustrious son, not only for Ghana, but for the entire world. Mr. Kofi Annan talking about his school days, even after he became UN Secretary General, never forgot about the youth. In fact, many of his policies and his actions were geared towards developing the youth. And the former world leader gave several pieces of advice to the youth on several platforms. On one such platform, he urged the younger generation not to be in a hurry to make money, and he also expressed the hope that the new generation of youthful leaders would turn Africa's economic fortunes around. He at that time said the young leaders, in complaining about the sins of the older generation, should be careful they do not become as corrupt as the old ones they often complain so much about.
Ladies and gentlemen,
when asked on one media platform, which one,
currently we are waiting for the guards to be
there are some announcements currently ongoing. We'll hear them right now. The remains of Mr. Kofi Annan arrived in the country on the 10th of this month. And since yesterday, Ghanaians from all walks of life, Africans who have traveled from north and south, east and west, have already been here to pay their last respects to the former UN Secretary General. And currently we are witnessing the change of guard. And there are a lot more dignitaries who have arrived here just bidding their time to pay their last respects to His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we are aware, today is reserved for institutions and groups to pay their last respects to the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Kofi Annan. And the next group to pay their last respects are coming from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Officers and staff of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center will file past, and then they will read their tribute a farewell message from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. That great institution is named after the late UN Secretary General, Mr. Kofi Annan.
Currently filing past the body. Once they are done with filing past, they will be given an opportunity to pay tribute also to the late Kofi Annan,
Your Excellencies,
who was instrumental
I will now invite a representative
the policies that
from the
govern
Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center to read their tribute. Thank you.
foremost peacekeeping training center.
Some should come.
Tribute to His Excellency Kofi Annan by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, KAIPTC. The governing board, executive management, and staff of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center were deeply saddened by the news of the passing of His Excellency Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations and Nobel Peace Laureate, on 18th August 2018. Indeed, Ghana, Africa, and the world has lost a gem, an incomparable leader, and an extraordinary inspirer. As a global leader, His Excellency Kofi Annan was greatly dedicated and committed to ensuring that the human race had a fairer and a better place to live in this world. His sense of dedication and commitment to human rights, gender equality, the rule of law, and sustainable development distinguished him during his career and leadership of the United Nations and after his retirement thenceforth. He was an exceptional achiever, a great motivator, and a strong advocate and ardent champion of peace and security. It was as a result of these remarkable achievements that the Ghana Armed Forces named the International Peacekeeping Training Center in Ghana after him in 1998. A son of Ghana, he had a big heart and felt a special responsibility towards Africa. He was particularly committed to African development and deeply engaged in many initiatives, including his partnership with KIPTC on establishing the West African Commission on Drugs to contribute to addressing the growing drugs problem in West Africa. He also chaired the African Progress Panel, among others. We remember him and continue to thank him for his relentless efforts to implement UN Security Resolution 1325 of Women, Peace and Security, which was adopted unanimously during his term as Secretary General. The recognition to make women key partakers in peace processes, the efforts to protect all girls and women from all forms of violence, and to keep at instituting ways to preserve their rights and attending to the specific needs of women in relief and recovery efforts were pursued during his time. And this has set the pace for continuous action and focus on women protection, empowerment, and involvement in peace processes. For us at KIPTC, the adoption of UN Resolution 1325 inspired us to establish a Women, Peace and Security Institute, the first of its kind on the continent, and to start the delivery of a postgraduate program in gender, peace and security, in 2011 with the addition of four programs 7 years on. We celebrate him for driving several life-transforming global initiatives under his leadership as UN Secretary General, a key one being the adoption of the principle of responsibility to protect. Our world is a better place now as a result of the adoption of this principle by world leaders in 2005, which made states primarily responsible for the welfare and protection of their citizenry. Following in his exemplary footsteps and propelled by our vision to become the leading and preferred international center for training, education, and research in African peace and security, KIPTC developed a course on responsibility to protect to achieve the global agenda against violence and human rights violations. His Excellency Kofi Annan lived a selfless, fruitful, and fulfilled life, and in the process, reached out and touched many lives with his great sense of kindness, concern, and empathy. He compassionately rated others first, cared about making others' lives far more comfortable. His personality generated humility, sympathy, patience, honesty, transparency, love, and healing. His works, his values, his principles have and will continue to have a great influence and impact on the work we do at KAIPTC. As an outstanding leader, KIPTC celebrates its achievements and will continue to exhibit these principles and values to contribute to a peaceful and secure world. His legacies live on and continue to touch many lives and generations to come. He will be greatly missed by all at KIPTC and will remain in our hearts forever. Your Excellency Kofi Annan, the world celebrates you. Africa extols you. Ghana is infinitely grateful and proud of you, sir. KIPTC is forever indebted to you. Rest in perfect peace. Thank you very much.
And that was a tribute by the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, located here in Accra, Ghana. It's a center that basically trains security personnel as well as some civilians on peacekeeping. Most of their policies directed and dictated by the philosophy of Mr. Kofi Annan. In the tributes they paid, they remembered him for being the South African High Commissioner to Ghana a while ago, paying her last respects to His Excellency Mr. Kofi Annan also right there. We have several people from the traditional community in Ghana, as well as from the rest of Africa here this morning to pay their last respects to Mr. Kofi Annan. Yes, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, who just paid tribute to him, was established to provide e-learning on peacekeeping courses at no cost. It offers more than 28 courses, almost 30 courses in English, and 24 courses in French, 17 courses in Spanish, as well as others in Arabic and Portuguese. Personnel from the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center just paid their tribute to the man whose name defines the institution within which they work. It is day 2 of the state funeral that has been put together by the Republic of Ghana in honor of this illustrious son of theirs here at the Accra International Conference Center. In commentary position, my name is Abdulhai Mumin. I'm here with Selikim Akolacha Palu, as well as our French speaking partner, Maurice Maugwe. Maurice will be doing the summary of the commentary in French for us throughout the day as we await the arrival of many more dignitaries. Of course, we expect the President, his vice, the former presidents of the Republic, and that is a former Chief of Staff at the Office of the President under the presidency of Mr. J. Kofi, making his way, Kujum Pieni, making his way into the foyer to pay his last tributes and last respects to Mr. Kofi Annan. And there he goes, Mr. Kujum Pieni, former Chief of Staff, Office of the President of Ghana, J.A. Kofi, when he was President of the Republic. He came in the company of other dignitaries. The remains of Mr. Kofi Annan lying in state were filing past by dignitaries this morning until late in the afternoon. Of course, the state funeral is due to take place tomorrow here at the Accra International Conference Center, where members of the public are invited to pay their respects. They did so yesterday. Today it's a turn of dignitaries, VVIPs, to do so. In the wake of his death, the legacy of the Nobel Peace Prize winner is being celebrated by world leaders across the globe. Of course, former US President Barack Obama said Annan, who was the first black African to take on the UN Secretary General role, had always pursued a better world. He's everything you need to know. We'll be telling you everything you need to know about the life and legacy of Mr. Kofi Annan right here as we celebrate him, as we mourn him. Merci beaucoup, Maurice. We have a lot more dignitaries filing past the body, paying their last respects. Foreign dignitaries from around the globe. Information I have received indicates that there are over at least 10 heads of state here at the moment ahead of the funeral. More heads of states are expected to arrive in the country for the funeral, which takes place tomorrow here at the Accra International Conference Center in Ghana's capital. After Mr. Annan graduated from Macalester College in the US, he got his first job in the UN as a budget officer for the World Health Organization. As he enjoyed a blossoming career, he was elected under Secretary General and head of peacekeeping in 1993. It was in this coveted position that we are told that Mr. Annan encountered one of the most challenging milestones of his career, which is the Rwandan genocide of 1994. That Rwandan genocide, which remains one of the darkest spots in Africa's history, but from which has emerged one of Africa's most hopeful nations, Rwanda, serving as an example for many African countries today. Well, in that position, when we're told that one of his most challenging milestones of his career was the Rwandan genocide in 1994, Mr. Annan and his team came under harsh criticism after it emerged that they ignored information that was passed down to them, warning a genocide had been planned. Well, Mr. Annan got the opportunity sometime in 1998 to address the criticisms that had come his way. In a speech, he said, and I quote, "We must and we do acknowledge that the world failed Rwanda at that time of evil. The international community, the United Nations, could not muster the political will to confront it. The world must deeply repent this failure." Unquote. A while ago, wife of former president of South Africa, the late Nelson Mandela, Gracia Machel Mandela, filed past the body as well. Several heads of state, several dignitaries filing past the body. Once again, just a quick reminder that a while ago, about 2 or 3 minutes ago, the wife of the former president of the first black president of South Africa. There's an announcement, correct?
And gentlemen, we now have some very important personalities who will also be paying their last respects. The next to come, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Kofi Korte, the Deputy Chairperson, African Union Commission, Ambassador Wick Bradford, former Ghana's Ambassador to Japan, and Ambassador Patrick Hayford, former Ambassador to South Africa, former Director for Africa in the Cabinet of the former Secretary General. They will pay their last respects. Mr. Kofi Korte, Deputy Chairperson, Africa Union Commission, Ambassador Wick Bradford, former Ambassador Wick Bradford, former Ghana's Ambassador to Japan, and Ambassador Patrick Hayford, former Director for Africa in the Cabinet of the former Secretary General. They have just filed past and paid their final respects.
We're just giving you a reminder of Mr. Annan's involvement with the UN, starting from the period just before he was elected as Secretary General. There's another change of guard ceremony taking place here. That's what we are currently witnessing and seeing on our screens. And as that goes on, it's only appropriate to go back and remind ourselves of the roles, the different roles that Mr. Kofi Annan played whilst even he was working within the UN, but not as Secretary General. And a moment ago, I reminded you of how he was criticized for not handling the Rwandan situation as was expected, and his subsequent speech that he delivered. Maurice. Mr. Henry Latte, Dr. Henry Latte, is a leading politician in Ghana. He, on 2 previous occasions, stood on the ticket of the GCPP as presidential candidate. He aspired to become president of Ghana on 2 occasions. He just filed past the body. We find more dignitaries coming in. These are the leadership of the GJA, the Ghana Journalists Association. I see the president of the association stepping out of the vehicle right now. The GJA represents journalists, is the umbrella body for all journalists in the country who have registered, and in that group you find very experienced veteran broadcasters, Mr. Godwin Avenogbo with them there, as well as very leading figures when it comes to journalism in Ghana. Fortunately, me, Pastor Hagan, several Vicky Ureku, Ruth Ajololo, and Cornelia Amwa. It's a former news anchor at GBC. Mr. Cameron Dodu, prolific writer, and that's the GGA organizing secretary, as well as Mr. Afel Moni, who is the president of the GGA. Mr. Godwin Avenogbo has just filed past. That's the man we previously called the Kente man. He also just filed past. In fact, the Ghana Journalists Association, as I've already said, represents, it is actually the umbrella body under which most journalists in Ghana operate. Vicky Weku, it's currently, she just went past, as well as Vicky Weku is a writer, a columnist actually, and so we have a younger generation of journalists, members of the Ghana Journalists Association, also in the queue waiting for their turn. Dominic Logi just took his turn, as well as several other journalists from different media houses, representing different media houses in Ghana, taking their turns to pay their last respect. Cornelia Amwa used to be a news anchor at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation's GTV. Ruta Jelolo was chief editor of the GBC website. Yakoba, yeah. So people may be wondering, so what were some of the successes chalked up by Mr. Kofi Annan that have earned him this massive respect from throughout the world? Well, for such curious minds, maybe just a quick reminder of things that we all know about Mr. Kofi Annan as we followed his exploits in the media and so on. Throughout his career, Mr. Annan demonstrated a commitment to raising the African agenda on an international scale. So in 2001, he launched a campaign to tackle Africa's HIV and AIDS epidemic. Talking at a UN Security Council meeting, Mr. Annan warned world leaders that the disease was 10 times deadlier than armed conflict on the continent. Mr. Annan was known, has his impressive mediation skills. That's what he was especially known for when dealing with crisis in the Middle East, and is credited with having prevented a bombing in Iraq in 1998. Well, in 2008, he launched a peacekeeping attempt in Kenya after violence broke out following former President Mwai Kibaki topping election polls over opposition leader Raila Odinga in 2007. And you remember the 2007 violent clashes, post-election violent clashes in Kenya. Mr. Annan got both leaders to agree on a power-sharing coalition. And in 2001, he and the UN jointly received the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to reform the UN and give priority to human rights. So in sum, without going into the details, these off the top of my head are some of the achievements of Mr. Annan that I recall, but it doesn't end there. It goes on and on and on. Even after retirement, he came back home and went into agriculture. We'll talk about his role in agriculture in a bit. But if you're still wondering, so when did he retire and what did he do with his life after retirement? We'll tell you that in a jiffy. Maurice. help promote global security, peace, and sustainable development. In 2007, he acquired a few other positions throughout his supposed retirement, including being the chair of the Elders, a group started by Nelson Mandela to get world leaders to work towards peace and human rights.
Décédé samedi le 18 août 2018, Monsieur Kofi Annan a marqué son empreinte des Nations Unies à la tête de l'organisation pendant 10 ans, devant le seul ancien dirigeant de l'ONU à avoir jusqu'ici assez de vedette de carrière.
I'm here with two of my colleagues, Maurice Maugwe, giving us commentary in French, Selekem Akola Chapalu here with me in commentary position. My name is Abdul Hayi Momin, and these are from Mr. Kofi Annan's family, from the Akwamuman family to Busumuru Kofi Annan. These are from the traditional setup in the Akwamu traditional area here in Ghana, about to file past the body and to pay their last respects to Mr. Annan, whose mother hails from the Akwamu traditional area. In Ghanaian traditions, the dead are still considered very much a part of the family. And there's a strong link and a strong bond between the living and the dead. And it is believed that death is not the end of a journey, and that death is the beginning of a new journey in most Ghanaian traditional setups and most Ghanaian traditional beliefs. So many of the traditional people here believe that come someday they will once again reunite with their son, with their brother, with their father, that this is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new journey for Mr. Annan. They're here to bid him farewell on that journey.
Mahiti, I am acting president. Nanaya Ward, and I do Manami. So, I can say, you have found welcome, you have say welcome. Now, so I am Abahasam, now so I am Abaduti. No, sir, or my winning, we are some man in our Abasa, and I am Abaja. Or come man, and so the other Maudio, Yansani. Beje meje church dinapa sheshira Ghana man sheshira wabusua omampani kwaso wadaroma adentina abaye omampani adodankwa oni na ban apeja no waba ana yabe yasepeja ne buanya ekunumudi obiara waje wakoga awoposo fa wakoga adenti manso efrishia aduonu asia no ana wokoi fadin na akọ na asomdwe mra okwamam onipa bosufo onipa bonefo eka nko na ka wanimu nwase na bi ka wabusua na bi ka Ghana man na tu ne fo wantende mesesa busumru Kofi Annan so onipa bonefo de frano wasamando ba bia wo bia no frano na wo ne ka so odi bi ma manemra so odi fo so bia ade manetra ho onipa busufo de Sesra Ghana man, Sesra Busia, what the Papa for
Charlie Monica.
Busumru Kofi Annan, esansa we akomni na wo fi akomti no fra na wonum fra na de wo horo wanim enti ana ye ba beja okwan dia na ye kita so fra ana ye ba beja okwan enti ye ba amane bia o se ye biara no enti adwuma ye ba bedi ye na wo dia hye do nyam esansa wo yo akomni no eso fra ana yakosawa ye de ba beja okwan. Busumru Kofi Annan ana me asa okuma hene me ya chi am hene san ya okuma hene ama okoman ana mi jina nananu manam wunsu ya de fa obae ana ya ba be fa wako sabe wa ya bande na so dresi bura bukra ya ne hene abafie enti ana ya ba be fa wako asia ta fa de ba yo ana ne de obako on ta bana for de on do sia na wo de mention yam Monica
Ocha Monica.
demands in the Akwemu area. The dead is always asked what killed them and what they were told and the name of the gods who protected them, and these are things that they have done here. The rituals have come to a close, and the Akwemu traditional area, the mother matrilineal side of Kofi Annan, has just completed the rituals as a way of a send-off for the dead, and especially for a person who is a royal and carries the title Busumuru, Kofi Annan. The chief linguist invoked the spirit of the deceased and tells the spirit of the deceased to go on a smooth journey and to continue to overlook the family, protect the family, and this is demanded by tradition. Libation was also poured as a way of invoking the spirits and asking them to come and oversee the entire proceeding. So as Ghana bids farewell to Kofi Annan, this is the Akwemu's way of bidding farewell to their beloved son, father, and brother. Just waiting to take their turn. Dignitaries await their turn, and some members of the former government, the National Democratic Congress Secretary, Mr. Sidun Ketia, among top-ranking members of the NDC, await their turn to file past the body of the late Kofi Annan. Mr. Bid Zidane and other officials await their turn to file past the body of the late former UN Secretary General. A delegation from the National Democratic Congress is getting ready to file past the remains of Kofi Annan. This is the 3-day funeral, state funeral, in honor of the late Kofi Annan, taking place here at the Accra International Conference Center. We have entered day 2 of the final funeral rites. Burial will take place tomorrow, preceded by a short private ceremony, after which the body will be interred at the new military cemetery at Bema Camp here in Accra, the capital of Ghana. And just on the coffin you see a display of the gifts that the Akwemu traditional area left for the spirit of Kofi Annan as he makes his way into the land of the dead. And we are witnessing a change of guards here as this exercise has been ongoing since morning. We are expecting to wrap up the filing pass by 16 hours GMT later today. But more dignitaries are expected here. We've seen representation from various countries, Poland, Indonesia, and the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, South Africa, other African countries, dignitaries from within the present government and the past government. We've seen members of the Diplomatic Corps. We've had the Ambassador Henry Kwesi, Ambassador Kwesi Kwote, AU Deputy Chair. We've also seen the Ambassador Patrick Hayford, head of the African Mission to the UN. These are men who worked closely with Kofi Annan during his service to the international and of course some Okujeto members of the Council of States have just made their way to the Accra International Conference Center, and they're taking their turn to pay their last respects, and also representation from the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, the largest opposition party in Ghana. Members of the Council of States just filing past the body of the late Kofi Annan. Well-respected statesman Sam Okujeto paying his last respects. Former Chief Justice Georgina Wood has just filed past the body of the late Kofi Annan. Mr. Kofi Adams also from the NDC paying his respects to the late Kofi Annan. We're seeing a delegation from the National Democratic Congress paying their respects to the man who distinguished himself in international relations, in diplomacy, the man who made Ghana and Africa proud. He said to have
calm voice in bringing tough heads together on the international platform, but was a shrewd negotiator. He was considered an international icon. He was considered a man well respected by the international community, and we're still seeing members of the diplomatic corps from various countries paying their respects to the late Kofi Annan. Just in, the wife of Kofi Annan, Nan Annan, together with the family, his daughter Ama Annan, Kojo Annan, and Nina Kosted de Groot have just arrived at the Accra International Conference Center. Of course, they will pay their respects, and Nan Annan got married to Kofi Annan in 1984. They have been married for several years, and Nan is a Swedish lawyer and judge who has dedicated her life to supporting her husband and his ideals over the years. They have been together, the immediate family, and we see the daughter of Kofi Annan, and that is his wife Nan Annan, daughter Ama Annan, Nina Grostan de Groot, and Kojo Annan. Key family members are now paying their respects to a husband, loving father, a supportive man, and that is the woman she spent more than 30 years with, Nan Annan. Very difficult moment for the family, a very sad moment for the family, and she struggles to hold back her emotions at this time when the international community and the world are focused on Ghana and exchanging pleasantries with the family of Kofi Annan. wife of the late Kofi Annan, Nan Maria Annan, struggles to hold back her emotions after being married to the man she loved for more than 30 years. They've been together since 1984 and they've shared a lot of good times together, accompanied by his children Kojo, Ama and Nina, who have just filed past the body. They exchange pleasantries with the families now. Both sides of the family, Kofi Annan's father from the Ashanti Kingdom and mother from the Akwemu traditional area. The difficulty that anyone would go through when they lose their life partner, one who they've shared most of their moments and almost all of their moments with. Nan Maria Annan, wife of the late Kofi Annan, exchanging pleasantries with both families of Kofi Annan. His son Kojo Annan eulogized his father shortly after they arrived in the country with their father's remains, talking about how he will be missed and how the family indeed misses this great man. And Nan Maria Annan takes a seat by the remains of the late Kofi Annan, and Nina, together with Ama and Kojo, exchange pleasantries with the family. A very, very difficult time for the family, and this is a moment that many find hard to comprehend, as it becomes very clear that Ghana will no more hold physically and see and experience physically the man whose voice was so widely respected on the international front in Africa and all over the world.
Yo nananom adrubre a afe ne ebe ye amamra nkasa sabre ekonyina ye nananom tab.
The family has just announced that some rituals are going to take place.
Mede anidie ni ahobrese abeto mensa frɛ nana ansa okuma hene a otoso mensa a wofre akwam na wadi adisiade etwa to okra aba.
And the family will shortly complete the rituals that are performed as a way of sending off the dead. And in this case, for Busumuru, Kofi Annan, the family is preparing to perform these final rites.
nananom amunadofo mpanin animofra Ghana man amanefo nyinaa yɛhyia wɔ ha yi afei na akwam yɛyɛ amane a etwato sabe ofie abusua mu no na sɛ ɔkɔde a sɛ abusua no ayima ne ntama na sɛ ɔkɔ a wafira anu akyi ɔyɛ ɔde hye kronkron na ɔyɛ abusua panin wɔ ansa abusua mu wɔ akwamu fie nti no ɔman no nso ɛsɛ yɛwura wɔfa ase na awu di a ɔman no nso kita wɔn de deɛ di kan ayɛ mpatia ane ntama hanki abusua ese busumuru Kofi Annan ana ya ne oridi nkra enti ntama abusua ya dere ma na wokwa awowa nkode wo eni anu achi aya okoman aman no so se sabe yewura kwa ya hwɛ de saa kwa enti ɔso kita wɔn nsam ntama po empatia ana hanki okwa awo enne na sɛ fifire so fiwa wa pepa w'anim dia ɔman ɛyɛ akɔman kotoi wɔde ma wo ni anu akyi sabe woyɛ amrado na baabi a wo ne aborɔfo na nam ti no na afɛfɛ de ɛyɛ flowers aborɔfo de bɔpɛ flowers enti ɔman no se ɛyɛ ahemiafo a ɛwɔ akwam abrewa safo a abrewa fante ana nana kwabia enso kita nhwiren a sɛ obi bɛsrawa wɔde asi okwan nana krote yemi ɔpɔno wa so ka ho a wɔde saa nhwiren yi ma wo te sɛ megyina ha na yɛ ɔkwanman ɛne wabusua de aregya ɔkwan ni afena
close family of the late Kofi Annan, his wife Nan Annan, his son Kojo Annan, and Nina Grosted de Groot. And traditionally, a cloth is being presented in honor of the late Kofi Annan, and a wreath as a way of honoring a man who was not just a Ghanaian but an international diplomat, as a symbol to the world to appreciate an international figure such as him, and as a way of saying farewell.
Yo, amamre no ani yeguso no. Wo hwe dwom ha, mo se nananom eguso ya amamre no. Omo de entima no a omo de bia hye ne kwa no o che amampanyifo wa obi anya bi. Sister Juliana wa ha, fa bag beji adisiade yi. Ebre esemu no ye de begu adaka no.
As a part of the ceremony, a cloth that has been offered in honor of the late Kofi Annan is being distributed among key family members. And we're talking about family members from the Akwemu traditional area, Akwemu Fie, where Kofi Annan hails. And currently, we see that the cloth is being distributed to the key leaders of the traditional area as a symbol that this great son did belong to the Akwemu traditional area.
indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them. A mighty oak tree had fallen. A vacuum had been created. And the Yansa royal family is now like a flock of sheep without a shepherd. Uncle Kofi, as you affectionately called, accepted to hold the mantle of the family Ebusapeni, but why leave us midstream? The entire Akuman is mourning at your early departure for eternity. We know that your call is at the will of your Maker. As we bid you farewell, we pray that the Almighty Lord fills the vacuum your call had created. We give glory to the Lord for your life, the good work, hard fight you passed through for the family, and thank Him for sparing you to us for 80 years. We believe and hope that one day, when the last trumpet sounds, we will meet you and part no more. Fare thee well, Ebusapeni. Akumuman say, the year.
Abusapani yada se bebre. Sabre yen sebre kra no. Ene wi adwumadie no ya chemu miensa. Acting president of Akwamu Traditional Council no oni ni team no abaye o mamamra wie. Yede yani efri Kumasi program ya chemu mienu. Eye yewura Kofi Annan ne papa fam na eti yanim mensa ni fasui. Womo so adu bra ombeye amamra etwato de agya omode hye no kwan. Timeto mesafre na nahema ede otumfo brempon ne chia mepanyi ne abusua momra monim na amamra bi a mopese moye de kire Ghana man ene wiase nyina no.
Following the rites by the Akwemu traditional area, the Akwemu man, we are going to see rites from the patrilineal side of Kofi Annan's family, coming from the Ashanti Kingdom, a rep of the Asantehene Otumfose Tutu and the team Nanahima will now make their way to position themselves closer to the remains of the late Kofi Annan as they perform the concluding rite. Remember that Kofi Annan is a royal and belongs to royalty from the Ashanti Kingdom and the Akwemu traditional area.
Ago nananum bonkum eni nifa omaya de hye echiama ebru mijina ha ama busumru Kofi Annan a yerwa wanya ne bai beko mijina ha ma na busua eye oyoko abusua ano pay bro so say de yade sie die yade sie eja yeba no kwan e kire oyoko abusua ye gina ha ye gina ha e bro ni nsa pantu yakuta yantuma adwene se dwene so yɛde esie yɛde gya yɛde hyɛ no kwan sɛbe ne kyakyaw yɛde egya no kwan ɛsan sɛ yɛrɛ asante na ɔte kɔkɔɔ so ɔhyɛ yɛde hyɛ no animonyam ɛbɔ no busumuro akonnwa yɛrɛ Kofi Annan na ɔyɛ ɔhene busumuro akonnwa ɛwɔ asante mam ɛyɛ manhyia ɔte kɔkɔɔ so efie yɛrɛ asante hene ɛbɔ no busumuro akonnwa eti na yɛba na abusua no yɛgya no kwan a yɛkyakyaw yɛhyɛ ntiadeɛ yɛpɛtia yɛdɛbɔ ne ka sika ɛbɔ ano ne kurakura edwene si dwene so yɛde gya yɛde hyɛ ne kwan ɔkɔ a wɔfira de akyerɛ nananom edwene si dwene so no sɛnti ne sɛ yɛne ne badwene asa yɛne ne badwene asa o yɛde hyɛ busumuru Kofi Annan yɛne ne badwene asa ade ato yɛni o ade ato yɛni nanom na munyima yɛn ewie ne saa no yɛnhwɛ yɛde gya no kwan ama wo pia a yɛ papa nom ne nananom a ɔmedical samado no ɔmahu sɛ ɔbaayɛ no na gya abusua yɛgya no kwan fɛfɛɛfɛ ɔtomfoɔ ɛto dwene ahene ɔna de sika pa so yi kɔtɔkɔhene Kofi Annan ɔnyɛ ne baa bi kɔ na abusua ni yɛba ɛne yɛde hyeɛ ɛnɛ ne papa nom yɛgya no kwan a na yɛsɛ yɛda wɔ man ne nyinaa sɛ mɔsɔ yɛ asene ama boa yɛn ahwenneɛfoɔ yɛni abrɛ nananom aboa wɔtwie yɛni ayɛ sɛ korodom eti yɛbaeɛ a deɛ yɛde bɛsie yɛba no no yɛda mo ase
That was the family of Busumuru Kofi Annan presenting some items for his burial.
Krobi asante kotoko hine so ma yako o me demrifa dio jeni amani hunu Busumuru Kofi Annan ene waja nana brewo a waya sante hine tudwene akona de hye ko simpruma sare nana bansra friye nana oso ma demrifa o demrifa due ni amani hunu woni ye ninkra ena wokoyi ya ma nantiye ma okwan so kose ya me fa okra esi ye mai
pia ya dia na mo priye ne ya dia na busia mo priye ne
In most traditions, in Ghana in particular, and in Africa in general, most people are considered to come from two families, the patrilineal as well as the matrilineal family. We earlier on saw the matrilineal side of Kofi Annan's family as they came to bid him farewell. We've just seen the patrilineal side also present some items for his burial.
Yewura Kofi Annan ne papa ene na busuafo na mo hu wo mo no enche oti kokoso otumfo ne delegation so ebepie wa ha omodo otumfo anu mo asem otumfo adisiede eso beba sabre me fa kwan we so atomen safre ne papa side hodon biem na omonu mo asem a ye tribute bi a omo wa de beja omo ba ne kwan no e kwada ho.
The announcement that has been made just indicates that pretty shortly a delegation representing the Otunfo, the King of the Ashantis, will be here to also pay their last respects. However, he's calling on there's a change of guard currently taking place. Right after that, the family, the patrilineal family of Mr. Kofi Annan will be called upon to deliver a tribute. And whilst the change of guard is taking place, a quick reminder and a summary of all the things that went on a pretty short while ago. So we find the traditions of Ghana fully represented here, and that is